بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حسنا وإن جاهداك لتشرك بي ما ليس لك به علم فلا تطعهما إلي مرجعكم فأنبئكم بما كنتم تعملون والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لندخلنهم في الصالحين ومن الناس من يقول آمنا بالله فإذا أوذي بالله جعل فتنة الناس كعذاب الله ولئن جاء نصر من ربك ليقولن إنا كنا معكم أوليس الله بأعلم بما في صدور العالمين وليعلمن الله الذين آمنوا وليعلمن المنافقين وقال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا اتبعوا سبيلنا ولنحمل خطاياكم وما هم بحاملين من خطاياهم من شيء إنهم لكاذبون وليحملن أثقالهم وأثقالا مع أثقالهم وليسألن يوم القيامة عما كانوا يفترون.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونشكره ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوب إليه ونتوكل عليه ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمد عبده ورسوله أدى الأمانة وبلغ الرسالة وقاتل الكفار وعبد ربه حتى أتاه اليقين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah, from verse 8 we shall continue our discussion. I want to believe that the brother who stood in for me last week must have expatiated extensively on the verses, but we still need to pass some messages as reflective in the verses preceding verse 12, which was the portion at which he stopped. Bismillah.
وقال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا اتبعوا سبيلنا ولنحمل خطاياكم وما هم بحاملين من خطاياهم من شيء إنهم لكاذبون.
We are reading from ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حسنا.
ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حسنا وإن جاهداك لتشرك بي ما ليس لك به علم فلا تطعهما إلي مرجعكم فأنبئكم بما كنتم تعملون.
ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حسنا. Quran says we have counseled man about his two parents that he should be kind to them. Allah talks about walidain, the two parents. The kindness of a Muslim in this regards is not limited to either of his parents. It's not about his mother alone, nor is it about his father alone. But وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ حُسْنًا. Quran says we have counseled man to be kind to his two parents. Kindness to parents becomes an obligation on every Muslim. He should be kind to his father for being responsible for his financial care. He should be kind to his mother for the maternal care and emotional care which she had expressed in the course of his upbringing. It is an obligation. Often in the Holy Quran, whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about kindness to parents, Allah normally places it side by side with the teachings of Tawheed. Ordinarily in the Holy Quran, according to the Quranic style and methodology, there are some good deeds that are known to go together, such that whenever Allah mentions one, wherever it is mentioned in the Quran, the other one will be placed beside it. For example, at every portion of the Quran where Allah mentions that we should pray, Allah will equally follow it up with a message on zakat. وَيُقِيمُ الصَّلَاةِ وَيُؤْتُ الزَّكَاةِ. These have always been going pari passu. For that reason, if a Muslim chooses to be consistent in his prayer, 5 daily obligatory prayers, but he has equally chosen to be negligent in the obligation, in fulfilling the obligation of zakat, something is definitely faulty in his religious practice, because Allah normally puts these two actions, devotions, side by side. Another thing which Allah normally puts side by side is the warning against the committal of shirk and goodness to parents. There is no way and there is no anywhere in the Quran where we are counseled to be kind to our parents. It will either be preceded with a counsel encouraging us to be kind to our parents, or it will be followed immediately with kindness to parents. Look at the Quranic verse in Surah Al-Isra where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Ba'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Wa qadha rabbuka alla ta'budu illa iyyahu wa bil walidayni ihsana imma yablughanna 'indaka al-kibar ahaduhuma aw kilahuma fala tanharhuma wa la taqul lahumā uffin وَقُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. صدق الله العظيم. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُونَ. Allah says, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُونَ إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ. Your Lord has decreed that you shouldn't worship anything, anyone except Him. That is warning against shirk. Immediately after this, it is followed with وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And you should be kind to your parents. إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِنْدَكَ الْكِبَرَ أَحْدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا. If either of the two parents becomes old while you are still alive, أَحْدُهُمَا, maybe it is one of them that is still alive and is old, أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا, or both of them, فَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا وَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ وَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا. Do not shout them down. On whatever the situation, even if they are idol worshippers, even if they are non-Muslims, they are Christians, even if they are Jews, even if your mother is a prostitute, وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا, Quran says, do not shout at them. وَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ, and do not hiss at them. The meaning of uffin is, do not ever allow yourself to be frustrated or provoked to the extent of hissing at them. وَقُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. And you should always utter, whenever you are talking to them, you should utter pleasant words from your mouth. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about our relationship with our parents, maybe our father or our mother. There is another verse in the Quran where Allah says, حَمَلَتُهُ أُمُّهُ وَهَنَا عَلَى وَهَنِ وَفِصَالُهُ عَامَيْنِ أَنِ اشْكُرُ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيْ. Allah talks about counseling people to be kind to parents. Allah says you should be kind to your parents, and to explain the reason why you must be kind to your parents, it says about your mother, for example, حَمَلَتُهُ أُمُّهُ وَهَنَا عَلَى وَهَنِ. His mother carries him in a state of pregnancy, وَهَنَا عَلَى وَهَنِ, with pain upon pain. وَفِصَالُهُ عَامَيْنِ, and after giving birth to you, وَفِصَالُهُ عَامَيْنِ, he breastfeed you for 2 good years. Quran now concludes, anishkuruli, you must be grateful to me, Allah, waliwalidayk, and you must equally be appreciative of your parents. There are 2 lessons we have learned in this particular verse of the Holy Quran. Number 1 is that one of the reasons that we are asked to be kind to our parents, our mother for example, is that hamalatu ummuhu wana ala wahan, your mother carry you with pain upon pain in pregnancy, wafisalu amen, and she breastfed you for 2 good years. If for example, as soon as your mother gave birth to you, she disappears, you can't find her anymore until when you are grown up and you have become successful in life, in the obligation of Islam, you must still be kind to her, because the issue here is not about taking care of you until you get to puberty, or it's not about financing your school fees. It's about hamalatu ummuhu wana ala wahan. The reason why we are asked to be kind to our parents, our mother for example, is that hamalatu ummuhu wana ala wahan wa fisalu amin, for the mere fact that she did not abort your pregnancy, and she carries that pregnancy with pain upon pain. Even as soon as she gives birth to you, she disappears. Maybe she vacates your father's home and you can't find her again, for the fact, according to the Holy Quran, that she had carried your pregnancy. You owe her that appreciation. So for many people who would say, I've not seen my mother for a very long time, at the age 2, at age 1, at 6 months, my mother had abandoned my father and she had abandoned us. What your mother did against your father, or what your mother did against you, is a responsibility which will be held account about in the day of Qiyamah. But as for your own obligatory responsibility to her, for the fact that she is the one who had given birth to you, you must be kind to her. How much more for a mother that had now breastfed a child and have brought you up to the age of 2. Talk less of a mother who are taking care of you throughout your days in the university until you go into marriage. You can imagine that your failure to be responsible for her care and your failure to be responsible in appreciation, you'll be held to account on that in the day of Qiyamah. And in the conclusive verse, part of that verse in Surah Al-Isra, Allah now taught us how we should, the kind of prayer we should give them even if they are not no more alive. If they are alive, we can make the prayer, and if they are no more alive, we can make the prayer. What's the prayer? Rabbi. That's where Allah concludes the verse. Rabbi rahamuhuma kama rabbayani saghira. Rabbi rahamuhuma, oh Allah, be compassionate huma, with both of them. Huma, with both of them, my father and my mother. Rabbi rahamuhuma, be, oh Allah, be compassionate with both of them. Kama rabbayani saghira, just as they were, both of them were caring about me when I was little. This particular prayer, I can't remember when last I didn't do it, because it's usually my conclusive prayer. If I have to do, and that's the best thing you can do, so that you can remember, especially for those of you who have lost either of your parents, and if you have lost both of them or they are still alive, I make this prayer is the conclusive part of my witri. You can just put it, you can say, okay, every Fajr prayer, immediately you finish, you devote the prayer you'll be making to your parents. Even overnight, I still did it. If I had to postpone my witri to vigil devotion, I will make it. If I had to observe my vigil, my witri at night after Isha, I will make it. After asking Allah to be compassionate with both of them, then I conclude with that particular verse, the way it is written in the Quran, the way we are taught by Allah. It's Allah who says it in Surah Al-Isra. وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمُهُمَا, and you should say, Rabbi, oh my Lord, irhamuhuma, be merciful to both of them. Irhamuhuma, be compassionate with both of them. Kama rabbayani saghira, just in the same way they were compassionate with me and they were caring about me, saghira, when I was little. The list of what you owe your parents, your mother or your father, is this prayer. Aside from this, you must be so caring about them. If you do not take care of your parents while they are alive, and you are waiting until they are dead, that you follow them up with prayer, that is pure madness. My father had a common saying when he was alive. He would say that ẹgbẹ̀rún kùrìsí wò tó kélé ẹ̀bà kan. 1,000 ayatul kursi for your dead parents cannot measure a ball of eba that you provide for them when they are alive. You now believe that when they are dead, that's when you are going to do a lot of prayers. You organize prayer, you do prayer for them, that you will not miss in prayer. That particular effort you make in taking care of them, sometimes, have you ever thought about this? When you are eating chicken at home, when you are eating the best of fishes with members of your family, with your wife and with your children, have you ever thought that, hey, maybe you have either of your parents alive or both of them? Have you ever thought, hey, what is mommy eating now? What is daddy eating now? That is just the truth. And that was their feeling when you were growing up. I don't know about you, that was my mother's feeling when I was in the University of Lagos. Suddenly I would see my mother in the university, and she will put this load on her head and she will come around. I would say, mommy, why have you come? Why have you troubled yourself so much? Then she would say, I was eating and I was troubled. I didn't know if you had something to eat. That is mother. Sometimes those who have lost their mothers and Allah has now blessed them with so much riches after losing their mother, each time they see people, one, who are taking care of their own mothers, they feel they will be moved to tears. On many occasions in Haram Makkah, while doing my tawaf, and I see someone pulling that the wheelchair with his, either of his parents, his father or his mother on it, or someone, I've seen someone backing a man, backing his mother, doing tawaf. Each time I see that, I collapse in tears. And that is why Imam Hassan al-Basri, a righteous man of the second generation of the Islamic era, said, when his mother died, then he started crying. The tears was just too much. And they asked him, Hassan al-Basri, have you lost your iman? Don't you know it's Allah who are taking your mother? He said, it's not about the loss of my mother. It's not about being bereaved that moved me to tears. But the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is reported to have said that your parents, the two of them, they are the two gates leading to your paradise. That one of my two gates is now locked, permanently locked. Because when you still have your parents alive, you must take the advantage of their lively existence, of their earthly sojourn, to spoil them. Have you ever thought of spoiling your mother or spoiling your father? You can do this through any of the two ways. Number one, by just sitting down and thinking, is there anything that I can do for dad that will really make dad to feel like running mad in excitement? Is there anything that I can do for mom that will really delight the heart of my mom? And do you know the funniest thing? When they are old, what they need from us is just little. And that little is what we are not willing to deliver, because we are usually carried away by the excitement of our spouse. And this warning is more for the men, because by the time we are married and we are surrounded by children, we hardly have time to think about our parents, to take care of them, because we have gotten a woman who had fallen in love, and we have fallen in love with that woman, and we have had the children. We now put our parents at the secondary level, and that is a big fitna. We hardly have time to give them calls. We hardly have time to visit them. We hardly have time. How do you feel for those of you whose parents are still alive, or either of your parents is alive? How do you feel not speaking with your parents in a day? In a day, how much more 2 days, 3 days, how much more a week that you don't call your father, even if your father is a kafir, even if he's a Christian? And you see, more importantly, for those people whose parents are non-Muslims, the only period that you can spoil them, you can take care of them, you can put before them the best of goods, is when they are alive. Because the moment they breathe their last, maybe your mother or your father dies, apart from just looking at how they are shrouded and rolled into the pit, into the grave, you are not allowed to pray for them. If you just say, oh Allah, have mercy on my mother, oh Allah, have mercy on my father, Allah will punish you for that. You'll be held to account. That's the problem, because we are warned never to pray for a non-Muslim. And another thing, you can't organize prayer, you can't pray for them, you can't do anything. So when your non-Muslim parents, your mother or your father is still alive, even though a non-Muslim, even though a Christian, a Jew, an idol worshipper, I may bold to say it, an idol worshipper, take care of them, spoil them, do the best of things for them. And if you have the opportunity to convince them into the religion, it will be so wonderful. In about, sometimes I can't remember the particular year, I was in Arafah, and a man who happened to be, I think, a Pakistani who had come for Hajj. Then we discovered that the man was crying in Arafah. He was crying. Then when we inquired, what is the cause of your tears? Why are you so much emotional? What is really wrong with you? Then the man was talking to someone on phone and he was crying. We didn't know that it was tears of joy and excitement. The man now told us that his mother had been a non-Muslim, probably an Hindu, idol worshipper in their own country, and the mother had remained like that. The man said he had done everything possible to convince the mother to practice Islam, and it had been so difficult, and the mother was resistant and she hated Islam. She now said that was the only thing that had brought him to Hajj. He was in Arafah. He had started the prayer right from Muna. Then when he got to Arafah, he intensified the prayer. Then suddenly, right there under the tent, he had a call from home, from Pakistan, that his mother had willingly chosen to become a Muslim. And the man was so much excited. Our mothers, our fathers, you can imagine, the only thing that we know that they have done for us is the way they took care of us, the way our dad probably paid our school fees, and some people, their mothers, paid their school fees, the way our mother bathed us, and the way they were so much caring of everything about us, the way they, apparently they were so much concerned and devoted to our success. There were some other things we didn't know. Among these is, we did not know how much of effort they put in place to make us successful. Spiritual effort I'm talking about. The most important and significant of these efforts is in terms of prayer. Some of them would hardly remember to pray for themselves. Most of them became mushrik. They did some things that they knew that those things were not permissible in Islam. They found themselves doing those things. They were devoted to doing those things, and it wasn't strange to them that they were doing the wrong thing. They knew that those things, some of them, if you ask them, mommy, Allah has forbidden this you are doing, this is shirk, some of them would even confirm, I know, if not for your problem, why would I have gotten to this level? Sometimes when we meet some of them talking to us, and they confide in us the extent as which they have gone in finding solution to their children's problem, you yourself, as a therapist or a counselor, you will be moved to tears. You will be moved to tears, especially when they get to mischievous malams or the so-called mischievous spiritualists, so that you can get well and regain your health. There are women who have been sexually violated. Were they not aware that they were doing wrong thing? They knew, and they were chaste. They were chaste. They were righteous. But they felt in their own weak faith, they had no option. They wanted their children to be healthy. They wanted their children to be successful in life. Some of them had been told to eat your faces and drink your urine, and they did it. Those things were disgusting. They knew that they were adding dangerous diseases into their system, but they did it. They did not know. And some of them had been told or blackmailed into committing real shirk, indisputably error, and they committed it just because they wanted you to be successful. And the ones who are lucky and fortunate are those ones who have been keeping the vigil devotions. They have been consistently praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At night they will observe fast. You will see a mother will be fasting for about 2 months because she wants a child to achieve something. We have seen a lot of things. You will see a father, and sometimes they forget to pray for themselves. Many mothers, many fathers will enter hell in the day of judgment on account of their love for their children. Now when you now achieve that success, maybe on the platform of satanic assistance or the leveraging on demonic help, you now become someone to be proud of. Maybe a man, because you are falling in love with a particular woman, and because you have had your children, you hardly remember to call your parents, your mother, your father, to give them calls. And these were people that ordinarily, the joy of any parents is to always be around his child. You don't give them calls. When it gets to a stage of resolving a problem, you think about your children first. Someone asked me, what should you think about first, your parents or your children? Wallahi, your parents. Wallahi, your parents. All what we have learned in the Quran about children is that we must work and strive to make them the inhabitants of Al-Jannah. Ba'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Ku anfusakum wa ahlikum an-nara wa quduha an-nas wal hijara. That's what the Quran says. Ku anfusakum wa ahlikum. Allah says, prevent yourselves, wa ahlikum, and your household, your wife and children, prevent them from getting to fire, hellfire. That's the basic rule we have gotten. Then we can also spend of them, we take care of them, is not bad. But about the parents, what we add about them is what we are reading today. وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْنِ حُسْنًا. Allah says, we have counseled human beings to be kind to his parent. The kindness to parents begins from being concerned about them. The kindness to parents moves to the level of spending on them. The kindness to parents moves to the level of being caring about them. The kindness to parents gets to the level of sharing with them. The kindness to parents then arrives at the level of interacting with them, being in their company. That's why it's usually a big loss for those who have no parents. Sometimes you remember them, there is nothing you can do, especially when you have finally succeeded, and you'll be moved that what could I have done if my parents were to be alive? And that is why the most wretched of human beings are those people who have refused to be caring about their parents. Having talked to the men, then about our sisters too. If you have a husband who cares less about his parents, do not let the man brings a curse into your own household. It can provoke the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And again, as a clear warning from Allah, you do not rival with your mother-in-law. Allahu Akbar. Wallahi, there are things that happen in this world. Those things, they are worse than what the kidnappers do. You know, today, at least in our countries, the worst physical sin anybody could commit is kidnapping. You abduct an innocent person, you keep him on sovereign, you persecute him, you torment him, you expose him to mental torture and trauma, you ask for money so that the person can be ransomed, and sometimes you waste the person's life by killing him. That could be the worst sin today. And at other times, you remove a part of the person's body for rituals. That is just the worst thing. Wallahi, hijacking a man from his mother, taking charge of the whole of his life, so that he would not be able to seek the attention of his parents, distracting him completely from taking care of his parents, is worse than that. I swear by Allah. And no woman does that and attain the pleasure of Allah. Yes, it's possible that your mother-in-law may be inhumane, may be bad, may be evil-minded. It is possible that your mother-in-law may not be the best of women or the best of human beings. But the funniest thing is that that little object that you have fallen in love in, that particular human being that you call the sweet of your life and the sugar of your life, that particular man that you believe is the greatest and the best thing that has happened to you, is our making. That particular human being, she was the one that carried him for 9 months in a big risk that did not abort him. And when she gave birth to that human being, she was the one that had been taking care of the human being, so that the human being's life, that man's life, could be meaningful, so that the man can arrive at success. And maybe you're a good wife. She was the one who had been praying that, oh Allah, bless my son with a good wife. It was a prayer that brought you into the life of a child. That's all. And we have never had any record of any woman or any wife who turns her husband against his mother. We have never seen any wife in this world. I have never seen. Let me tell you, brothers and sisters, I see more than anybody, more than any. I do not know any one of you that could have seen as much as what I see. Because 247 of my life, people sit in my front, I listen to them. I've listened to the worst cases, the worst scenario, and each day the story I hear next day will be worse than what I had today. And I have got to know that there is no woman who has ever done that and has never regretted. And it's a foolish man that falls for that. Let's agree that you confirm you confirm that your mother is a witch. You shouldn't forget that it's that a witchcraft that has brought you to success, that has made you to be relevant. This is what I have told people. Sheikh, mom is a witch. Wallahi, I confirm that. I said I've not denied it. You know about witchcraft than I do. I don't know anything about it. All I know is Islam, and from the understanding of the Quran and Sunnah. You may have spoken the truth, but that particular witch, it was a witchcraft that had brought you to prominence, that had brought you to eminence, that had brought you to relevance, that had brought you to success. And for a woman who knows that our mother-in-law is a witch, you are enjoying the product of witchcraft. You are only enjoying. It is just, why haven't you called your own mother witch? And do you know another thing you women do that you should be really be God conscious about it? Is that the moment you marry a man, you turn his entire family. You create a strange atmosphere for them in the home front. You turn them, and you do it in 3 ways. Number one, you make the children to be more interactive with your family. What's your problem? In the entire life of those children, of that child, your family is not useful, because the child cannot use your family's name. If the child is growing into prominence and has to achieve anything in this country, he must necessarily trace his father's family. It's his uncle that will link him to this local government to get this one to go home. If, for example, he's becoming something useful, how useful is your own family? Any child. And for you, man, that your family have become stranger in the home front because you have told your wife all the stories that all members of your family are witches. Can you imagine? Some of you, I'm sorry, please permit me to say you are stupid. Just like, why would you do that? Hey, what kind of love is that? And the only people that your children know are their nieces, all members from their mother's family. Those are the people they know at auntie, uncle. Your own family, when they come, they are so strange, and they look at them with some strange eyes. Because, and do you know the funniest thing? You curse it. And because your wife has really, that's one thing that they do. You have forgotten that that woman that you married is coming from a background. She was brought up by some people, by someone, and you are also coming from a background. You must never be detached for whatever reason from your family. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam had among his family the worst of Allah's creatures. Amongst them was Abu Lahab. Abu Lahab, he was the family of Muhammad. The first person to disgrace and insult Muhammad in the open. Rasul had never denied him. He never denied him. Yes, there was a very deep, clear line between Islam and Kufr. And Allah declared, Tabbat yada abi lahabi wa tabba. It was a great cause. Tabbat yada abi lahabi wa tabba. Ma agina anihu maluhu wa ma kasaba. Nothing could be worse than that cause. Ma agina anihu maluhu wa ma kasaba. All what Abu Lahabi had acquired in life, all the wealth he had accumulated, and his wealth, ma agina anihu maluhu, it will never be useful for him, to him, and it will never sustain him. It was Allah who caused him. But it was never removed from Islamic history that Abu Lahabi was Rasul Sallallahu family. It was never denied by Islamic history. Has it ever been denied? No. And you can see his relationship with Abu Talib on deathbed. You remember, Rasul was so much concerned. We have never had in the history of Rasul that any of his wives their family dominated the home front. You should be kind to your neighbors, to your in-laws. Get them, let them come in, draw them nearer, but you should equally be kind to your family members. Have you ever thought about it, that you have a cause of assisting your brother-in-law? You just sit down, your brother, I don't know how you run yourself, your own, and this is how I run my own. I'm only alluding to my life system if you are willing to learn. Yes, it's your brother-in-law that needs help, and it's the help of 50,000 naira or 100,000 naira. As far as Islam is concerned, you must provide. You should provide it if you have. You should provide it if you have. Then you provide it. There is nobody in your own family that has asked for that. Have you ever sat down and looked into your family and think of someone who is living in extreme poverty, and his life could be rescued with just 50,000 naira, and you provide 50,000, 100,000 naira, the same amount you have provided your brother-in-law, and you just call, Kabiru, how are you? I'm fine. How is everything? How is your work? My brother, this is my problem. This something, little thing just came now. I don't know if you can manage it, just to support background, to clear your conscience. Look, if I do anything for my mother-in-law, wallah, I must use equal amount to do something for my dead mother. Equal amounts I must use it to do for my dead mother. And you know I have two mother-in-laws, and if I do for one, I must do for the second at equal level. And if I do anything, and again another thing, if I do for any members of my family, let me even tell you, you know, we have given birth to children. We have children. Is that not so? Some of you have 4 children, some of you have 5 children, some of you have 2 children. These children, they are growing. Maybe they have male children room. They are growing together. They are sharing food. They know each other or one another as this my brother, this my elder brother, this my younger brother. Sisters too, this my elder sister, this my younger sister, and they are growing, and they are growing, and they are growing. Then suddenly this one gets married. Then later this one gets married. Then later this one gets married. Male goes, gets a wife, then the female gets husband. Why is it that at this stage, as each one goes his or her own way, there is usually an atmosphere of strangeness created? Each will stick strongly to his or her spouse, so much that he or she can hardly think about the other. These are people who grew up together. Do you know what is wrong? What is wrong is the spouse. And it is more common among women. When they hijack the man, they completely hijack the man. And maybe, don't forget, the man probably was brought up with the family's commonwealth. A complete stranger at hijacking. His siblings will now be suffering. Have you ever seen such a situation? They will be struggling in life rather than being of help. Someone had distracted him and has shifted his attention to his own younger brothers and his own elder brothers. Are you with me? The attention has been shifted. So this one will be struggling. This one will be struggling. Why do we? What is that thing that leads to competition amongst our children? Why must they compete? Have you ever seated your children down one of these days? Just sit them down and tell them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows he who is going to have the upper hand in wealth creation and wealth accumulation. Whoever is blessed by Allah should know that the wealth of the rest of the family lies in his hand. This is my thinking. even if it is 20,000 naira or 10,000 or 5,000 at the commencement of Ramadan that I find in my account, and I still have what I can survive with members of my family, I distribute it round, because their wealth, part of their wealth is in your hand. You don't forget them. You are distributing rice, you are distributing sadaka all around, you are taking care of your in-laws, and you abandon your siblings with whom you grew together. What about your uncle? You say, if they know that I am rich, they will be after me. And some of these stories are told by your wives. They tell you those stupid stories. Be very careful. Be very careful. Oh, be very careful. You know, your uncle, they will not want you to. They will be envious because their own children did not succeed. What concern you? Let me tell you. A brother brought a case to me about his wife, and the brother was really mad with his wife, and the issue was very close to divorce. Among the allegations against the wife was that, can you imagine, my sister came, and as soon as the brother was telling me, as soon as my elder sister came, do you know what this woman that claims to be in hijab did? She packed all the children away from the sitting room and went to keep them in the room, and everybody, they left my sister there. They were running, and the children were peeping if she had gone. When I asked my parents, they said their mother said they should be very careful. I said, I now called the sister to the sister and said, why would you do that? How dare you? And you said your husband has been nagging. Said, Sheikh, ask him. It was based, my reaction and action were based on what he told me. At the commencement of the marriage, he was the one that told me that his sister is a witch from childhood and is envious. Do you understand? That's the story. Why is it that at the commencement of love, is stupid stories you start narrating? Everybody in your family, you want to introduce your family to your wife. Every negative things that had happened 30 years ago when you were growing up, when you were in secondary school, about your siblings, you now narrated it. You never believed that your marriage that you cherish so much may be challenged one day. And I want to tell you, brothers and sisters, there is no marriage that is absolutely immune against divorce. Even 50 years old marriage can collapse. Two people who have seen each other as the best of human being, because it's all about heart. And when we talk about love, marital love, romantic love, the symbol is the symbol of the heart. Is that not so? And what is heart called in Arabic? Qalbu. What is the literal meaning of qalbu? Something that changes. Muqallib al-qulub. Allahu al-muqallib. Is Allah who is the changer, someone who changes. The heart that is so devoted to something now may change. The husband that used to love you may suddenly, you cannot even be able to explain it. And the woman who used to be in love, that you used to trust, you may suddenly develop disgust, hatred, hate feelings, suspicions against him or her. And that is why those people whose relationships have collapsed after 5 years, after 10 years, after 15 years, after 20 years, they used to be in love. You must have heard about Bill Gates and Melinda. Bill Gates, look at the largeness of the wealth. Melinda, look at the largeness of the wealth. You can imagine the kind of love that could have made a couple to possess a huge foundation that finances great things around the world. It's not for the fact that they do not have the money. It's for the fact that the heart changes. And now that you have sacrificed all members of your family, and do you know this family? You may later need them to rescue you from that woman. And those families, sisters, you may later find them as the only consolation against the vulture you married as a wife, as a husband, but which you used to call a human being. I have seen marriages where a woman got to know her real husband after 15 years. It can happen. And there are marriages where the man changes completely from what he used to be. And that's why our religion has made provision for the legitimacy and legalization of divorce. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us. So your parents, whatever they may be, if Islam can make it known to us that our parents, even if they are non-Muslims, if they are kuffar, if they are Christians, if they are Jews, if they are idol worshippers, if Islam could make it known to us that we should still be compassionate with them, we should still be caring with them, that goes to show that nothing else could justify abandoning them, even if, as you claimed, they are confirmed to be witches or wizards. You have not understood. The worst crime anybody can commit against Allah is shirk, is kufr. But if Islam still demands that we must be caring to them, we must be merciful to them, we must continue to be kind to them, even if they are non-Muslims, even if they are kuffar, tell me what is sin they can commit. You find your mother, you find another man on top of your mother. Tell your mother, even in Islam says when you are telling your mother, you must tell your mother politely. You tell your mother politely, and you should be more concerned. Your mother is a kafir, pray for her. Your father is a kafir, pray for him. Someone told me she's not been on talking term with her mother for 8 years. Why? Because her mother is doing incision, because her mother is having something collected from Boca by the bedside and putting palm oil on it, because her mother is wearing cowrie shell, because her mother had been occultic, and for that reason she has not been on talking term with her mother. And I assured her that if that daughter dies, if she dies, she's going right there, going into the wrath of Allah. If you started smoking N as a child, your mother would do everything and anything possible to get you out of it. May even become a mushrika, may become a kafir, may incur the wrath of Allah in an attempt to rescue you. Are you with me? Why would you now? You continue to pray for your mother, you cry, you seek advice, you pray for your mother, you go to Umrah because of your mother, you go to Hajj, you lure your mother with every material thing, you spend on her, you seduce her, you try to convince her to Islam, because you should be overwhelmed by fear that if mama should die in this state of kufru, how will I pray for mama? Do you know how it feels? Those of you whose parents are still non-Muslims, do you know how it feels that your mother or your father dies and you can't say, oh Allah, have mercy on him or her? It's the worst thing. Because the only consolation for the bereaved at the death of the beloved, the only consolation for the bereaved is the fact that the dead are died a Muslim, and is the fact that the dead is marching towards the mercy and compassion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Quran says that وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ, that we have warned man about his two parents, and we are talking about the two parents. You don't choose one over the other. You don't choose one over the other. We have always romanticized with the hadith ummuka thumma abuka. These hadiths of ummuka, because everybody interprets this with his own brains, not with the understanding of the Salaf and the righteous ancestors. Nothing tells you in Islam that your father should be abandoned in the course of care delivery. Islam has never said that. Abu Quhafa was the father of Abu Bakr Siddiq, and it is clearly documented how passionate and how passionately caring was Abu Bakr Siddiq to Abu Quhafa. So much that on the day when Abu Bakr was migrating with the Prophet to Medina, there was nothing left at home for the feeding of Abu Quhafa, Abu Bakr's father, and the rest of the family members. Abu Bakr, to put his father's mind at rest, had to load a bag with pebbles. Abu Quhafa was squint-eyed, could not see properly. So when Abu Quhafa was asking Abu Bakr's children, especially Asma'u bintu Abu Bakr, Asma'u binti Abi Bakr, when Abu Quhafa was asking, what did your father leave for us to survive on? That pebbles, the bag, pebbles loaded bag, you know, just to put the man's mind at rest. Abu Bakr was so much concerned. Then Asma bint Abu Bakr was showing it to our grandfather, that look at what dad had left for us. Then when he touched it, he became assured. If we were to be in that position, what could have been our reaction? Fi sabilillah, I'm going to the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm going. I sacrificed my father and my mother. For what? Every day of your life, if you still have your father alive, every day, every second of your life, you must review it to assure yourself that your parents are still pleased with you. And the mother of Abu Huraira was a Christian. Abu Huraira, that popular narrator of hadith, his mother was a Christian, and Abu Huraira continued to be caring. The care delivery, he continued until at a stage when Abu Huraira sought the blessings of Rasulullah to pray for his mother, so that his mother could become a Muslim. You can do a similar thing. It's something that is emotionally difficult and traumatic, that either of your parents dies and you cannot actively partake in the janaza, and you cannot even pray for them. You try to do everything within your capability. You take care of them, you be kind with them, you spend on them, you talk to them, you preach to them, you lure them, so that at least you can be in paradise together with them. That's what Islam wants, and that's what it desires. Then the verse continues that وَإِنْ جَاهَدَكَ لِتُشْرِكَ بِي مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا. Quran now says that وَإِنْ جَاهَدَكَ, If either of your parents, your father, who is a non-Muslim, now wants you to commit shirk, to have to seek partners to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the basis of what they have knowledge about. They have no knowledge about it. They want you to do something that is going to attract the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Quran says, "Fala tuti'huma." Do not follow them in that circumstance. If you are told to be caring to your parents who are non-Muslims, if you are told to be compassionate with them, if you are told to be obedient to them, there is always a limitation. Brothers and sisters, there is always what? A limitation. And the limitation is that you must not under any circumstance join them in the act of disbelief. You mustn't go to the church with them. Even if your mother dies a Christian and she is taken to the church for service, for funeral service, you don't join them there. In fact, in Islam, some people would say, I've seen friends that would say they go to the church, they will stand by the church gate, or they will stand outside. No, it's wrong. It's wrong. The only thing that you owe your parents, either of your parents, in that situation, is to ensure that she is covered underneath the heart. All the rituals prescribed, funeral rituals and rites prescribed by Islam, he or she is not entitled to it. You can't do it, but they may have to, maybe they need to buy a land to bury her. You put down the money. Maybe they need clothes to shroud her, whatever, in whichever way you can provide it. You cannot pray that Allah should forgive her. You cannot pray that Allah should be compassionate with her. You can see the trouble. And you cannot even follow her. You can't follow her to the graveside. So the idea of going up, the best you can do, maybe you supervise your mother, you ensure that your mother is buried. And the idea of going to the church is wrong. Now, coming to your non-Muslim parents, seeking your help to render a religious service in a religion of kufru to which she belongs, what should be your responsibility in that situation? You see, we have heard a lot of things. People would say, if either of your parents or your parents, if they are idol worshippers and it's time to celebrate the festival of idolatry, take for example of the masquerade, you know, you must have heard that you should give them money to do that. This absolute lie. There is no provision for that in Islam. To do what? You can't do that. But there are many ways through which, you know, you can care for your parents. You buy her clothes, the clothes she wears. You make provision for food. She needs money. You do everything to make her life comfortable. There is nothing bad. But you are now saying, you know, I've had cases of someone who said he would take his mother to the church and he would keep waiting in the car until the service is concluded. That one is not part of Islam. But all of this, you will manage it in a very polite manner. Quran says, وَإِنْ جَاهَدَكَ لِتُشْرِكَ بِي. Look at the word, وَإِنْ جَاهَدَكَ. Quran did not say إِذَا أُمِرْتَ, when you are commanded, and tushrika bi, that you should commit shirk. Quran did not say that. And Quran did not say إِذَا أَمَرَكَ, when he, maybe your father or amaratika or your mother commands you Quran did not say. Quran did not even say إِذَا أُمِرْتَ نَائِبُ الْفَاعِلِ in Arabic syntax. Quran says وَإِنْ جَاهَدَكَ. Jahada, it implies if they argue with you, if they strive with you, if they disagree with you, if they become unhappy with you, if they insist, if they throw the issue into a fight, if they want to cause misunderstanding with you, ala an tushrika bi, so that on the basis of the fact that you should associate partner with me. Can you understand? So it's about a situation when either of your parents, who is a non-Muslim, is displeased that you are not supportive of their religious practice or the path of idolatry or Christianity or Judaism, and they become so uncomfortable with you and they throw it into anger. You should rather manage it in a very polite way, and you must maintain your stand. Mommy, I can't do it. Dad, no, I can't do it. It's against the principle of my religion. And do you know, when you stand on Islamic principle and you are standing with strong morality and you are standing with all sense of mannerliness, you have the manner, the mannerism, and you have the morals, and you do it in a very polite way, the person at the receiving end will understand you. Sometimes what causes the problem is the way we handle issues. Here is a mother or father who knows you to be caring and kind, who knows you to always put calls across, who knows you to always be caring about his health or her health, who knows you to always make provision for his feeding or her feeding. And when you are asked to lead her, if for example, I have a question sometimes that if my mother asked me to buy a car for her that will be taking her to the church, I say, then you reply that, Mama, I'm going to provide a car. I'll buy a car for you, which will be taking you to everywhere, which will, for your comfort. I'm not providing a car that will be taking you to church because it's a part of kufr. Class, you have explained it, and you have provided the car, and your mother takes it to church, takes it to the temple of idolatry. You have no problem with that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us. What makes you a believer is not when you a particular month, a whole month, a 30-day period is established by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for you to move closer, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you could be righteous. No, what make you the real righteous person is what you do after those 30 days. Then after the days of Ramadan, what we are doing now, are we able to retain it? If you could stand at night for vigil devotions now, that means it's possible. The excuse of I find it difficult to be awake for tahajjud, it's not there. You've once done it. You did it in Ramadan. You were able to complete a whole Quran. If you're able to do it now, what stop you from continuing, from doing it repeatedly? There are people who finish Quran in 7 days. There are people who finish in 2 weeks. Not even the companions. They did it in their time. Even today, there are people who finish it every month, a juzu per day. And this is what many people are doing now. Why can't you continue after Ramadan? It is the same Nigeria, the same Abuja, the same Kaduna, the same Enugu, the same Lagos that we have in Ramadan is the one we have after Ramadan. It's the same set of human beings we interact with. During Ramadan, they are the same set of people we interact with after Ramadan. The same offices where we work, where we do our business, is the same one. Why can't we continue that lifestyle? A companion who had rushed in to meet them in Salat, and because he did not arrive at the masjid to observe his rak'atan al-fajr, So he missed Rakatan al-Fajr, and he met them on the Salat, and he made them complete. After the Salam, he now stepped behind. He now observed 2 rakah. After the Prophet said, why did you do this? What is this one you have done? Observing another prayer after the congregational prayer. He now told Rasul that, oh Rasul, because I did not arrive at the masjid on time, and I missed Rakatan al-Fajr, and because I want good deeds to be consistently and constantly recorded documented in my records, because I want opportunity for attracting rewards, and that's why I said, okay, if I had missed it before Fajr, let me observe it after. Rasul said, you have taken the right decision, and it became lawful for all of us since that day. That was it. Because the Sahaba was greedy of goodies, of attracting rewards. Let me give you another example. They go to Hajj. It was in the day of Hajj, and that day Aisha anha started her menstruation. Rasul just entered, and she saw Aisha crying in a very bad mood. Rasul said, what is wrong with you? She couldn't talk. Rasul said, is it because, or are you menstruating? Then she said, because when they arrived in Mecca, they will immediately go to do their umrah. So she could not do the umrah. You understand? Because she was menstruating, and that one now depressed her, because she was missing out in doing good deeds. She became depressed. That is how a Muslim should feel. Are you with me? She was not happy. Rasul said, why are you depressed? Said, because you know it's not our making, it is the course of nature, in quotes. Rasul says, if that is the case, there is always a solution. After you are clean and you become pure of your menstruation, your brother Abdurrahman bin Abu Bakr will lead you to Tan'im. At Tan'im, you will take your bath and take your ihram, and you can come and do your own. That was what made it a solution for women menstruating as they arrive in Mecca. Now I want to tell you the Tan'im. That Tan'im is the Miqat for the people of Mecca. The other name they call it is Masjid Aisha. That the mosque built in Tan'im by Saudi government is named after Aisha because of that event. You can see that's how a Muslim should feel. When you have vacant time, your vacant time should be used to attract rewards. I've always said it. You are standing at a bus stop waiting for your brother who promises to come and pick you. You are going somewhere together and he hasn't come. You look your time. Where are you? I'm very close. I'm held in an hold up. Then you tell him, okay, when you come, just call me. I'm around. Quickly look at a mosque in that neighborhood. Sneak to the mosque, perform ablution, observe 2 rakah. If he hasn't come, make another 2 rakah. If he hasn't come, make another 2 rakah. If he hasn't come, make another 2 rakah. Then, if you are tired, sit down and start doing askar. That's how you use your vacant time. Wa'amilu solihat. Then, even if you can't get a mosque, get right there at the junction where you are standing or where you are sitting, between askar. It may be subhanallah bihamdi, subhanallah al-azim, subhanallah bihamdi, subhanallah al-azim. It may be subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah, Allahu akbar, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. It may be astaghfirullah al-azim, astaghfirullah al-azim, and you'll be doing it with khushu', with a sense of humility and concentration. It may be hasbi Allah la ilaha illahu alayhi tawakkaltu wa huwa rabbul arshil azim. Hasbi. You just choose one askar. It's not wasted. All these are documented in your record of good deeds. Then if you are used to good deeds, that's when you will know how to turn the disadvantage of hunger to an advantage of blessing. You are awake and there is nothing serious to eat. Why not turn it to a fast? And throughout the day you ask Allah to provide for you and to make you great. These are some of the things. You have lost nothing, because if you don't have something to eat, or you don't have something serious to eat, and you later get something that is so useless to eat, and you eat it, that day is a wasted day. A day of hunger, a day of eating something useless, and a day of no reward in fasting. You look for opportunity, and this is what Allah says, wa amilu salihat. Quran now says, what will he do? La nudkhilannahum. La, that lam, do you know what it is for? It is lamul qasmi. La, Allah swear, I swear, nudkhilannahum. That nun with shadda is nun tawkid in Arabic syntax. I swear, I must necessarily, la nudkhilannahum fi salihin, I will necessarily join that person with the righteous. That's what makes you righteous. May Allah make us better Muslims. Then the next verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, wa minal nas man yaqulu amanna. Bismillah.
ومن الناس من يقول آمنا بالله فإذا أوذي في الله جعل فتنة الناس كعذاب الله ولئن جاء نصر من ربك ليقولن إنا كنا معكم أوليس الله بأعلم بما في صدور العالمين.
Continue.
وليعلمن الله الذين آمنوا وليعلمن المنافقين.
ومن الناس من يقول آمنا بالله. Quran says ومن الناس, there are among human beings man yaqulu amanna billah, those who will say we believe in Allah, and they will say it with all senses of physical sincerity. Physical sincerity is pseudo sincerity. Pseudo sincerity is fake. What is so difficult to see is what goes on in our mind. How truthful we are with our faith in Allah. Most of us wear beards. Most of us wear trousers above the ankles. Nearly all of us wear hijab and jilbab and khimar. We all meet and converge in masajid. But how sincerely devoted are we? That's why Quran says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ. Amongst people are those who would say آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ, we believe in Allah. فَإِذَا أُوذِيَ فِي اللَّهِ, but whenever they suffer a pain, أُوذِيَ فِي اللَّهِ, maybe they are insulted because of Allah, or they suffer pain on account of their declaration of faith, أُوذِيَ فِي اللَّهِ, or a kind of calamity befalls them, جَعَلَ فِتْنَةَ النَّاسِ كَعَذَابِ اللَّهِ, they will now start comparing the trials suffered from fellow human beings. They will start measuring it and comparing it with the punishment of Allah. What does that mean? This is our religion. You know, we begin, when we started the recitation of this chapter, we started with an understanding as interpreted that trials can only be avoided by not coming into the world. And we made it known that even animals in the rivers and the oceans, they have their own experience of pain and trials. And I illustrated with what the fishermen do. They throw hooks and nets into the river. For our own survival as human beings, we want to eat fishes. Is that not so? But as they throw them into the river, into the ocean, wherever they want to catch the fish, they are living in comfort in the waters, and they are having the best of comfort, pleasurable experience and enjoyment, and they are swimming around. They believe that's the best world. In their enjoyment, other creatures of Allah have come to create discomfort for them, so as to enjoy their own comfort in their own world. They throw the matches. Some of these fishes will be caught and they will be mourned by the rest of the fishes. That's a calamity befalling their mothers, their fathers, their colleagues in water. And some of them, they will get trapped on the hook. It's the hook, because the deceptive hook, onto it is the food that the fish should take. They will take it, then it will bring them out. That's another calamity befalling some fishes. Whereas some of them will escape the fisherman's capture, but the hook will wound their mouth, and they will continue to swim in water with injury while bleeding. That is their own trial, even as fishes. And they believe that it was the best of world. I also illustrated with what happens with animals in the forest. The small animals, they are always living in perpetual fear, for the fear of being captured by wild bigger animals. They don't want to encounter lions and tigers. They wouldn't want to encounter wolves. And they are always living in fear as they struggle for survival, for one thing to eat. Then if suddenly they encounter a bigger animals, what do? They start running. They start running. I thought they were enjoying, they had the rest of mind. They were enjoying their comfort. Now that they encounter bigger animals, the rest of mind had gone. The tranquility. Then the jungle became so dangerous for them. These bigger animals will be running. All the smaller animals, they will be running for survival. That is their own trials. But what about the bigger animals? No smaller animals will wait for them to be devoured. And that is why even lions and tigers, for days in the jungles, will roam about without getting something to survive on. And that's what Imam Shafi'i said. Yamutul hasadu fil ghabati ju'a walahamud dahani ta'kulu likilabu wa abudun qad yanamu ala haririn wa dhunna sabim mafarishu turabun. That's Imam Shafi'i. Yamutul asadu fil ghabati ju'a. We human beings, the powerful people among us, the rich, they have their own trials. Some of them are crying on account of the pain they suffer from their children. Some of them, they are disobedient children. Some of them, they are sickly children. Some of them, they are children whose life have been wrecked with drugs. This happened to the rich. What about those who are not rich? They have their own trials too. Poverty is enough trials. Not knowing what to use for iftar is enough trials. Maybe you have never been told, you have never been accosted this Ramadan. Someone sending message to you that, Malam, please, I need 500 naira to break my fast and for sahur. We have such complaints every day on the Minaret platform, and we had at the point we had to make a special provision for that immediately the message came, Maryam would just transfer. And you are not transferring 500 far, you are not even transferring 5,000. You are transferring what could take the person for the next 5 days, for even 10 days, calculating about 1,000. There are people, and it's genuine, and the person wouldn't have told a lie. At least we know this is another kind of trial. Some people are struggling to endure the pain of chronic illness. Some people, it is poverty. So everybody has his own trial. Now, If you are now devoted to Islam, you are a Muslim and you've gotten the godly consciousness, and a calamity now befalls you, a trial now befalls you, you are now blaming it on Islam. That's what this particular verse is saying. The verse says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ. There are among people those who claim to believe in Allah. فَإِذَا أُوذِيَ فِي اللَّهِ. But if they suffer any pain because of Allah, فَإِذَا أُوذِيَ فِي اللَّهِ. If on the path of Allah they suffer a calamity, وَإِذَا أُوذِيَ فِي اللَّهِ. If they suffer a trial on the path of Islam, جَعَلَ فِتْنَةَ النَّاسِ كَعَذَابِ اللَّهِ. You come to Micah, and it's at Micah you were introduced to a brother, and both of you fall in love and you get married. The brother maltreats you, and for that reason you remove hijab and you declare all those brothers at Micah are useless. Why? Ordinarily, if you are not on the path of Allah, that kind of trial could have plagued you. Or you suffer a disappointment from a brother. Maybe a brother defrauded you and swindled you of a very huge amount of money. You now conclude that Muslims, in fact, maybe you say Muslims, or you marry a sister and the sister is in complete hijab. Don't forget that those who are in hijab, they are first human beings before they started wearing hijab. You see, we have had people say those who wear hijab, they don't have good character. Most of them have good bad habits or bad deed. You may not be wrong, but I want to tell you that in equal measure and pedigree, those who are not wearing hijab may also have such character. There are two things. Number one is someone's bad character. Another thing is someone's wearing hijab. If someone who wears hijab commits zina, she will be punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but she will be rewarded for wearing hijab and make both to sin. These are two different things. Good deeds, bad deeds. Just like some of us that we wear beards, that we answer Muslim name, it's just like salat. Someone who goes to pray and he commits zina, someone who goes to pray and he backbites, someone who goes to pray and he steals money, this is kabair. He will be punished, but that does not remove the fact that he will be rewarded for praying. In the same way, someone who wears hijab and commits a sin, he will be held to account on account of that sin in the day of Qiyamah. But the wearing of hijab, the way it should be worn, it will be rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we should not now make the trial we suffer from a brother or from a sister to now commit the fallacy of hasty generalization. We now generalize. We now say for that reason we are going to abstain from there. I was asking someone, where do you listen to lecture? She said, I used to go to Micah. I said, you used to? Do you still go there? She said, I've not been going there. I said, why? He said that my husband wants me to be going to the same place with him, and one of the things they do there is that before you know it, they arrange wives for brothers. He will marry second wife now. You can imagine, that is how poor some people's understanding of Islam and faith system could be. What concerns you? What concerns you about what another person says? I was expecting the person to tell me, at Micah they commit a lot of zina, at Micah they steal a lot of money, at Micah there are people who are living on drugs. I want that kind of thing. If someone had told me that, then I would have been alarmed. But someone saying that she ran away from Micah because she had to protect her husband from being given another wife, that shows that that person in the first instance has never entered the fold of Islam. And that's what Islam says, that when you suffer a disappointment, then ka'adhabillah, they will now compare it with the punishment of Allah. May Allah protect us. Wala in ja'a nasrun min rabbika, then when the help of Allah comes, la yakulunna inna kunna ma'akum, then they will claim that we are with you. They will identify with you. Awalaysa Allahu bi'alam bima fi suduril alamin. Do they think Allah does not know what lies in the heart of the world, what people do? This is about the hypocrites. Whoever is placing the blame of a trial on Islam is a hypocrite. May Allah not make us an hypocrite.